What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Savage, and welcome to Motivate. Now it's the end of the month, and we are reviewing Rich Dad, Poor Dad in this video. So we're going to talk about the birth of innovation and then review the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. So it's going to be that video on steroids, guys. Stay locked in. I poured me a glass of wine, and I'm ready to go. Savage mode. Stay locked in. So the question that comes in is, what is innovation? How can one be more innovative? So I put together a lot of notes on innovation, which is the birth of innovation and where it really starts. And I really want to start by defining innovation and distinguish it from a synonym, which is commonly used interchangeably with the word innovation, which is creativity. So creativity is having ideas. You have a whole lot of ideas. But innovation comes in when you're implementing those ideas. So innovation is basically creativity implemented, having a lot of action into implementing your ideas. So it's a mental state of mind, as we put it together. It's a mental state of mind where one has to first have the desire, the burning desire in your heart to change the world. You have to have a desire to change the world. A great man once said, you have to leave the world a better place than you found it. Imagine if we're still using sticks and stones to start fire, but now we're using lighters and matches and gas bottles to start fire. That's innovation. Someone left the world a better place. So you have to be able to have that burning desire to leave the world a better place. Now the thinking process behind innovation is one has to think smart, think fast, and think big. By thinking smart, one has to cut down costs and processes and really cut down the lead time into doing things. That's thinking smart, cutting down your process level. If there's 7 processes into doing one thing, cut it down to 5. That's innovation. Trying to find how can I cut down the lag time into doing this process. That's being innovative. And then thinking fast comes into a scenario, more of an environmental scenario. What environment are you into? Like if you're in a board meeting with managers and directors, and they bring out a problem, you have to be able to quickly give out a solution. So you have to be able to think fast. And then thinking big stretches your mind. It actually opens up your mind and helps you think outside of the box and really makes your idea more scalable and more achievable by cutting down into processes where it could grow and really put together its growth projects into it. So that's the thinking process. I like what one guy said. He said, "Do not park in the same parking lot as your father did." This brings me to my next point, which is you should be able to jump curves. By jumping curves, we should be able to think 10 years ahead. For example, let me give you a scenario. What would be the next generation? What would the next generation of technology be like in the next 10 years? What would be the next generation of vehicles be like in the next 10 years? What would be the best business model in the next 10 years? If you start thinking with that mental view, you'll be able to quickly think faster and really think outside the box and think bigger into what you can change and how you can leave the world a better place. So you should really be able to jump curves and not stay in the same place. That's being innovative. And then one has to brainstorm a lot. You need a lot of brainstorming. If I tell you right now, I keep a notepad on the side of my bed, I can wake up at 2 a.m. and write something down. If you have an idea, put it down on paper. You never know when you need it. I have a diary. It has more than 15 business plans right now. It's because I write it down on paper. I never know when I'm going to need it. And although the business environment might change, but I'll find a way to change it and see where it fits best. So you have to brainstorm, have a lot of ideas, think quick and fast, and put a lot of ideas down. That's innovation. So this then brings us to validation. One thing I always tell people, whether in relationships, in finances, in businesses, in your personal life, is stop seeking validation. Now, validation is when you want someone to tell you, "Oh, you look good today," or "You got a nice haircut," "Oh, that's a nice investment, you should do it," "Oh, that's a good business idea." Well, it's all good to have someone to tell you that, but sometimes you really have to think on your feet, and you really have to be comfortable with your own thoughts and your inner self, and really know from the bottom of your heart that this is good and you should do it. The moment you start stop seeking validation, you see you'll be able to do your tasks faster and being more creative. It just brings down the best in you and really trying to shape yourself. So the other point in innovation is looking at challenges as opportunities, finding opportunities in challenges. Now this is the basis or the root of innovation and success. Go into your society, see what's wrong with the society, what challenges are they facing, and see what opportunities lie in those challenges. By that, you'll be able to create business ideas, you'll be able to be innovative in the thinking process of the society, you'll be able to help others. So really, you should seek opportunities. It also keeps you, it also gives you a positive mind and it keeps you positive and on your feet. So that's what we got for the birth of innovation. I hope you guys will be more innovative. And at this point, before we review Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, take a moment to like, subscribe. Wow, thank you for leaving that like and subscribing. Don't forget the notification bell so that you don't miss any one of these dope videos. And really leave a comment. We really want to discuss what are your thoughts and lessons drawn from Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. So this book has been declared a must-read by J.P. Morgan if you want to be a millionaire. And I hope you guys were reading this book in the course of this month. So Robert Kiyosaki really starts by defining why people struggle financially. Is because financial intelligence is not taught at schools, but is taught by Robert Kiyosaki in this book. And he has been termed the millionaire teacher. So he tries to explode the myth that you need to earn high income to become rich, or that he challenges the belief that your house is an asset, and he defines once and for all what an asset is and what a liability is. So getting to the moral of the story, Robert growing up had two dads, a rich dad and poor dad. Poor dad being his biological father. Now, poor dad, as I thought about it, poor dad was not poor because he lacked, he did not have money. Now, he had a PhD, he was extremely successful in his field. They drove a decent car, a decent meal, decent clothing. But poor dad was poor because he lacked financial education. And rich dad was rich because he was financially intelligent. Now, it also goes on into how he puts financial education as it starts from also as a mental state of mind, where it really challenges how we see life and opens up our eyes and minds to what we should view life as and what we should view financial intelligence as. Now, for example, his poor dad would casually throw out lines like, "I cannot afford it. We cannot afford it. We don't have that much money." And that mindset really puts his mind at rest. It puts his mind at complete sleep, and he rests, and he has a good night because he's not thinking about money anymore. But rich dad would go on and say, "How can I afford it? How can we afford it? How can we get the money to afford it?" Now that difference in the thinking process, where rich dad thinks, "How can you afford it?" puts him on his feet and starts to hustle more into getting that money so that he can afford what he wants. And then, so poor dad puts his brain into sleep, and then rich dad puts his brain into action. And then poor dad would constantly say, "Well, study hard so you can work for a good company. Study hard so that you can work for so and so company, and then you can get your insurance, you can pay off your mortgage, then you can, those type of things." But rich dad would say, "Study hard so that you can own the company. Study hard so you can learn about the company." So Robert really puts in 6 basic lessons into the whole book, where he talks about the rich don't work for money, the rich invest money, work to learn and not working to earn. He talks about financial literacy, and he defines putting assets and liabilities into different states. So the first lesson that Robert points out is the rich do not work for money. So what does the rich do? The rich basically they work to acquire assets, which are anything or things that bring money in. and then the poor acquire liabilities in the no thinking that they are assets, like your homes, your car. It is not an asset; it's a liability, because a liability is anything that brings money out. So you'd work more into acquiring your assets. He also talks about financial literacy, which is knowing your numbers, and you should not be worried about how much you earn, but how much you save after earning. And then he goes on into talking about minding your own business. In this chapter, he brings out the founder of McDonald's, where he asked a couple of students that, what business do I do? Well, it was an easy question, and he said, and most of the students were like, yeah, you're into the chips business, you're into the burger business, you sell fast foods. And he laughed and he said, no, I'm into real estate. I own the buildings that where the fast foods are. So he really points out into building and maintaining a strong group of assets, which is his buildings. And when people thought he was earning $3.50 out of a burger, he was actually earning $1,000 out of the rentals. So he really thought, what can I do to earn more income and build a sustainable asset group? Then he also talks of the power of corporations. Our corporations really, I'm not going to base off them because we're in Zimbabwe, and it really does not apply as much as it does in America. But there's the need to know your accounts, your accounting, your basic accounting, where that's your basic accounting, that's your numbers, your assets, your liabilities, your balance sheet. You really have to have a general information on that. That's what he points out. And then you have to have a general appreciation of investing. That is where to put your money and how to invest, and the way you can get a greater dividends. He also talks about having to know your supply and demand, which is knowing your markets. You have to know what is in demand and how much can I supply at a certain price. And you also have to know the laws, that is the government laws, that you don't break any law. You have to know their tax laws and their initiation laws and their corporate laws and everything of that sort. Now, he also talks about how the rich sees the opportunity to invest and to invent money. As greater opportunities are seen greater opportunities are not seen with your eyes, but greater opportunities are seen with your mind. So he really challenges people to be bold rather than be smart. Bold, go for it. Just go do it and see what the outcome is. And really, he talks about emotions, what people are afraid of. People really fear failure more than the result that is brought after you succeed. So really, guys really don't have to fear failure, but we really have to be bold enough to assess the results of actually achieving a certain task or a certain goal. And then my favorite topic, or my favorite chapter that he talks about, is working to learn and not working to earn. Whenever you're into a company setup, whenever you're employed or you're in a company, you're working for a company, really try to find out how they're doing their processes and what they're really doing to make them successful. That way you're really opening up your mind into learning rather than earning, because really no amount of money can satisfy you, and no amount of money can ever be enough. That's why millionaires are aspiring to be billionaires, and us three-figure people are aspiring to be four-figure people. So no amount of money can ever be enough, but you really should build your brain and work to learn and not work to earn. And then he also talks about, in his last chapter, he talks about achieving obstacles. Here he really tries to prepare us into going forward and taking action into doing it, being more innovative. Like we said, you have to eliminate fear. You have to eliminate cynicism. You also have to eliminate laziness. Get on your feet, wake up as early as possible and go for it. And you really have to eliminate your bad habits. That is watching your TV, and watching your TV. Stop watching your series and build yourself in with more documentaries and stuff. And then arrogance. It also talks about arrogance, where you really don't take people's advice. I really want to distinguish this from validation. Now, validation is where you really don't need someone to tell you that you're looking good today. Although you know you're looking good, but you don't need someone to tell you. Well, arrogance is not taking people's opinions at all. So there's a really fine line that really defines it. So in Rich Dad Poor Dad, it's a must read for you guys, and I really want to read you guys to read on your own and go for it. It's a beautiful book. I've been reading it for the past month, and it goes on to pointing out his board games that really equips us into living a life that we need to live, and a lifestyle that is very good, and how we can learn to work to learn and not work to earn. So this is Robert Kiyosaki, and this is me, guys, Menashe Maimba, aka Savage. Leave a comment below. Let's discuss and let's see what you think about. I'm out. Cheers. Thanks, guys.